JP, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm very good, man. Like I was just saying to you before we went live, I'm so excited to be here.
Likewise.
I love doing podcasts.
100%.
It'll be very clear to people listening and watching. And I needed this podcast today. So thanks for having me, bro.
Likewise. Pleasure. Thanks for being here. It's for people that don't know you. Who are you? How do you help people?
High performance coach, spiritual teacher, plant-based athlete, best-selling author, former ordained monk. I basically grew up in a life that I just felt was existence. And I couldn't understand how we came into this world to just exist. I couldn't understand that from a very early age. So I started, even though I didn't know it at the time, I started studying people and why we were acting in a certain way. Why would we do this? And I'd watch my mom and be like, why are you drinking at the end of every day? Like, what about your work makes you do this? And I've always been like that. But because I had a childhood where there was a lot of lack of certainty, safety, I became an easy target for bullies. So I started to hide away from life, and I found sports, and sport literally saved my life because I was able to find significance, connection, variety, fun, certainty, safety in sport. And I leveraged that just to get through high school, just to get through my childhood. But then I fell in love with that. And then at 19, I fell in love with something else that also made me feel good, which was music. Long story made short, music took me to the UK, from Cape Town, South Africa, to London, England.
See the big smoke.
And I did it all on my own, Irtaza. And now I know many years later, if you're doing life alone, you're doing it wrong. You need a partner, you need business partners, you need people in your life to guide you, to remind you, to support you, to question you, to challenge you. I did everything on my own. Next thing I know, 23 years old, I'm a full-time DJ because I loved music. And I was doing many, many things wrong. Because the life that I had growing up, I wanted to be a cool kid, and all the cool kids had things: money, attention, acceptance, significance. So that became my rule for happiness. I need to receive. So now I'm 23 years old, receiving everything. Girls want to kiss me, guys want to offer me drugs. I basically had freedom to do what I want in the VIP room, and I had all these things coming to me, and I felt deeply, deeply unhappy. And then I thought, man, I'm 23 years old. This reminds me of when I was 13 years old, when a gentleman just like me, looking successful on the outside, killed himself, my father. And I thought, I can't do that. This is not a life that I want to live. Once again, there has to be a reason why we are here, not just exist. So at 23 years old, I got into personal development. I started studying my mind, my habits, my environment, the people in my life, purpose, vision, values. And I started to realize that actually the greatest success is when you live in the service of others. But first, I served myself. I just did it to save myself. And by the age of 25, I had a gorgeous girlfriend. I was super confident. I was in great shape. I started doing Thai boxing. And I was like, oh my God, I went from down here to up here. And everyone was like, what the hell happened to you? And I was just like preaching to all of my friends. And at 25 years old, I made a decision. If I can go from where I was, potentially depressed and suicidal, I wasn't there, but I was heading somewhere near there, to how I was feeling now at 25, if I can just teach this to people, what a life of meaning that would be. And I've never done anything since.
And it's one thing you said there is kind of like you've transferred what you have is probably the biggest thing. And I've always believed that the work you put in yourself is a gift to yourself, but a gift to others as a byproduct. And this is something I kind of like have a lot of conversations with when, if you look at the pecking order of what's important to someone, for men, it typically tends to be others. For women, very much the same. But like, let's say someone's a parent and they've got family and they've got kids, they've got career they put above themselves, then they become the last person they prioritize. But then what happens, and it's funny you actually mentioned that at the start, is like if someone's at a 5 out of 10, they can only give a 5 out of 10.
100%.
And if someone's at 8, they
you can only give what
right?
you are.
Absolutely, absolutely. For you now, like almost, because you actually kind of like flowed this nicely into one thing I actually wanted to dive into the start. For you, like what was, because I believe everyone's got a turning point in life where either something happens, an event kind of occurred, and something's kind of gone on and it's led to a moment where a decision had to be made that changed everything going forward. What decision did you have to make that altered the past and got to where you are?
Well, that's a very big question, first of all. Number two, there's a few moments in my life. but I will give you one of the most significant moments. And it was when I was hit by a car in a hit and run collision 6 years ago, realizing that one day doesn't exist. You know, I woke up in intensive care and the doctors told me, I don't know how you're alive. Like you have metal or titanium rods in your body, you've got punctured lung, you've got internal surgeries you've had internal surgeries, you've got staples up your stomach, staples on your arm, everywhere. I was just an absolute mess. The doctor's like, I don't know how you survived. And I knew why I survived. Because my life has always been about not existing. It's always been about living a meaningful life, being in the service of others. And I thought, what a gift. Now I can help even more people because now I've been through severe physical trauma. But knowing that and reflecting on the fact that I almost died, that if a little thing changed, I would have never existed after that moment. Just a little thing, just the angle of my bike or the car or the speed, it means I would have gone from just riding my bike with my friend Callum, having my best life day, and like that, bah, JP doesn't exist anymore. And I reflected on that day after day, week after week, month after month after my collision. And then I realized that life is so incredibly temporary and fragile and potentially very short that I'm never, ever, ever, ever going to compromise, settle, or procrastinate or delay. And I just fucking went after everything. I moved to Thailand. I set up my business in Dubai. I got a divorce. I had a baby. I've just fucking gone all in because I don't know if I'm going to be alive for the next year. Because I still want to live my life. I still want to ride my bike. I still want to drive motorbikes. I still want to race. I still want to compete, do ultra marathons. There's no guarantee. The only guarantee I can create in my life is at the end of each day, which is a life to me. Now I look at life like every single day is a life because this could be my last life today. So I just go all in, and my only guarantee is if I did my best, the guarantee is I lived my best life today. That's it. Because tomorrow doesn't exist.
You know what's funny is like I actually kind of, one of my biggest motivators is there's the past and there's the future. And like the thing with the future is like what you said there almost about like you're not going to procrastinate, you're not going to get decision fatigue, you're going to decide quick and you're going to fire and start to aim. And one of my biggest things, I actually shared it with probably a few people, very limited people, but actually like my biggest reason to keep pushing is if in the future, when we have kids, myself and the wife, and I'm about to explain to them like, hey, I can't give you that thing that you want because growing up I had imposter syndrome, I had this, I procrastinated. It's like explaining that externally is like a bigger motivator for me. And in the past is almost like coming from a space now where it's actually funny, I've never said this to anyone, but I used to struggle to say my name up until like 16. I just couldn't. As
in emotionally, like, you didn't want to say, or you just couldn't actually say, oh, right.
I was in proudly, I couldn't be like, yep, I'm Taza, nice to meet you. I'd be like, Taza. And like, there'd be lack of like an element of needing acceptance growing up. And that actually was quite funny because now it's almost like you said at the start, what you did gave you identity and you kind of found who you are by putting in the work. And I found for me almost like, and it's funny when I say, because actually like when someone's like, what do you mean you can't say your name? It's like, I couldn't say it proudly. So I'd stutter, I'd say it too quick, and I wouldn't be proud of the person I was because I wasn't proud of my presence. And for me now, that was a turning point where I actually needed to work towards something and look in the future and be like, if I don't do this, there's consequence. And now I like to create consequences in my life sometimes. If I don't do this, worst case scenario, you will die kind of thing, or like you will regret it in a sense. But that drives me a lot in a sense, which is kind of interesting. For you, like, what's the...
Before you come to that question, I just want to tell you something.
Go on.
I had a similar experience in my life.
Interesting.
So my name is Jean-Pierre.
Yeah.
It's very fancy. Even if I say it to people, they say, wow, that's very fancy. You know, for many years, I just said JP.
Interesting. I used to say Taz.
And so someone said to me, why do you say your name is JP when your name is Jean-Pierre? I'm like, oh, because it's easier. They're like, own your fucking name.
Yeah.
And I never forget that moment. I was like,
that's strong.
You're right. I'm Jean-Pierre De Villiers. Like, I shouldn't be like, oh, I'm JP, just a dude. Like, no, I'm Jean-Pierre De Villiers. And that was a big moment for me in my life, similar to yours, because I realized that, oh no, I didn't want to stand out. I just wanted to fit in. Like, I'm just JP. I'm just JP. It's almost like there was a silent gist.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just JP.
Second guess.
No, I'm just JP, as opposed to I am the name Jean-Pierre De Villiers. Anyway, so
I love how you said that. Actually, kind of like owning your name. That's actually owning who you are.
I have a saying now. Can I swear on here? Because I've already done it twice. I'm so sorry. All my clients, some of my students know that I have one of the most powerful things in the world in terms of confidence, certainty, direction, clarity, motivation, inspiration is to know who you are. And sometimes people forget.
Completely.
And I have a saying in my business, you've maybe heard me say this, remember who the fuck you are.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just need to look at yourself in the mirror and you need to say, hey, remember who the fuck you are, Irtaza.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's very powerful.
That is
owning your name is very,
100%.
very powerful.
And that's the thing that kind of uncovers the veil. It's like these are topics that not many people are aware of that need to be solved. Is that layer deeper? And I think for like kind of coming into that question as well, it's actually which I'd love to dive into. For people that aren't proud with who they are, would you either reframe it? Would you either kind of recreate it, or would you do a blend of both? Typically,
what do you mean if
like,
they are proud?
They aren't proud. Like, say they're like, I don't really have much to own, and I'm in a spot where I'm like, there's not much I've done, and I'm 42.
Okay, got it.
Would they reframe, or would they?
Two things. You've got to understand that everything in the world is energy, and energy is everything. Albert Einstein said, equal the frequency, match the frequency of the life or the reality that you want, and you cannot help but get that frequency. It's like tuning into a radio station. So if you want to have love, you have to vibrate at the vibration of love. If you want to have abundance and wealth, you have to vibrate. Whenever I don't have wealth come into my life, one of the questions I always ask myself is, like last 2 months have been shocking months in business compared to what it was in January. It was like, oh my God. The first question I ask myself is, where am I not vibrating at the level of wealth? And that's just taking responsibility for everything in my life. It could be nothing. It could be the market. It could be this. It could be that. It could be bad timing. It could be the economy, the war, whatever. But I'm always looking at, is it something to do with my vibration? If there's a problem in my relationship, is there something to do with my vibration? If there's something to do with how I'm showing up to a coaching session, if it's something to do with how I feel when I wake up in the morning, I ask myself, where is my vibration right now? And if you have, coming back to our name thing, if you have guilt or shame or regret around anything in your life, including shame around your name, that is low vibration. So Einstein, one of the greatest scientists of the world, said, you have to match the frequency of the reality that you want. That also means that by default, if you match the frequency of the reality that you don't want, you'll get it.
Yeah, I love that.
So if you want a life that gives you more shame and guilt and regret, vibrate at the level of shame.
1,000%.
So you've got to be proud of yourself. Life mastery is an inside-out game. I work with people to master their inner world so that they vibrate at a higher level, so that their outer world just starts to change over and over again. And as they start to see the evidences of the change and transformation, they vibrate even higher, and then the world just keeps changing because the world is a match to your own vibration. So that leads me to the second thing. How do you become proud? I have a tool called the evidence list. I don't want to not give respect to this exercise because I could spend an hour talking about this, but essentially it is, ask yourself, if life matches your beliefs, what is the number one belief that when you own this belief, it would have a ripple effect on every area of your life? Let's say, for example, I am the greatest. Now you need evidence to prove that to be true. So you build an evidence list. You look into your past and you look at every single, maybe that's a bit of a stretch, I am the greatest, because I've done a lot of work on myself for 20 years. That's my one thing, my one belief, I am the greatest. I have evidences. I grow evidences all the time. I keep adding to the list. Like a judge in a courtroom, your mind is looking for where there's more evidence so it can make a decision and a conviction. This morning I walked down the street with a coffee and this guy stops me and he goes, "You're JP." He goes, "Man, I saw you speak at Charlie Johnson's event and you told me this one thing, that something about the mind and the heart." I can't remember exactly. And I said, bam.
Yeah.
I walked away and I said to myself, bam. That's going on the evidence list. Another proof that I am the greatest. Let's say, for example, you just want to feel, you want to believe, I am proud. I'm proud of myself. Unless you have evidence to prove that to be true, you are absolutely bullshitting yourself. And now you're saying one thing and still vibrating at a different frequency. And this creates deep, deep, deep inner conflict. And now you can't be happy, you can't be fulfilled, you can't even be at peace. Because you're like, I want to be this, but why don't I feel it? Why don't I feel it? Because you don't have the evidence to prove that you can feel it and you can be that person. So an evidence list, in short, is choose a belief, starting with the words I am, which speaks to your identity. You're building a new identity. You're rewriting the code in your body. And your body, your brain, your soul, your spirit, everything. So you say, I am proud. Or I am proud of myself. Now just start looking at, one, your past. Everything in the past that proves you can be proud of yourself. Every single day, through high performance habits and daily decisions, create moments where you're proud of yourself. Being kind to yourself, being kind to others, saying hello to a cashier, making a sale, closing a deal, serving a client. Put that on your evidence list. Imagine if you put 5 a day on an evidence list for 50 days. That's a lot of fucking evidence.
Yeah.
Now, the law of awareness states that once something is made aware of, it cannot be made unaware of. So once you have 250 pieces of evidence or 100 pieces of evidence or 71 pieces of evidence, you can't unsee the evidence. And then you're like, how can I not believe that I'm proud? There's too much evidence there. Like the judge won't go if there's a right and a wrong or a left and a right or a red and a blue. The judge goes, the answer is red. And you're like, no, it's blue. And the judge goes, no, it's not, because there's all the evidence.
100%.
So that's what you want to do, is you want to keep building evidences. And the last place to build evidence, past and present, future, is set goals for yourself. Okay. 1 to 3 stretch goals every year that would enforce the belief, that would have a ripple effect on every area of your life and would add more extraordinary evidences to your list. Long answer, but good answer.
I love coming to the third one there. What's quite funny is this is when I think it was 18 or 19. And I went to university for maths, got a maths degree. I was a nerd, by the way, studying all the time. And part of that, because I did well, I got a scholarship to go to China to study.
To where?
To China.
You got a scholarship to China?
So I was like, wow. I'll take it. Don't know
what
to do.
When you got to China, were you the stupidest person in the class?
Yeah, 100%. I actually was, though.
Because Chinese really, like the education is really high, right?
It's like, I think the work rate is higher, but it's normalized, which I absolutely admire. Like the bar is, even like, going off topic, but like, I've not been to Japan, but I've heard amazing stories. And one story that stuck with me is like, if you go to a restaurant and you get an amazing service and you tip, they're like, what are you tipping for? They're like, this is just what we do, it's normal. And it's like, that's like a nice way to think of it. So it's just normalized and like, it's just common behavior.
You can't see, but I've got goosebumps, man. That's awesome.
Like, actually giving a compliment and being like, hey, you've done a good job. It's like, what do you mean? Like, they actually brush it off.
The standard is so high.
Genuinely, I was like, fair. And like, that is actually that lesson stuck with me in a lot of different ways. But coming to what you were saying there is like, actually went to China, studied, and actually like, I remember I started writing notes randomly, like I'd even write very specifically, I want to be friends with these people and want to meet these people, want to do these things and be in these places. I was like, it'd be quite nice. And you know, when you're on a flight, I was on the flight trying to writing these things down and you're just thinking, you're looking outside and you're quite, not going to say delusional, but you're thinking highly because you're like, anything's possible. Like there's no like current environment that's holding you back. You're in a space of the unknown. And I was writing all these things down. What's funny actually is like, I actually had the notes on my phone, on my laptop actually. I was going through his deleting my notes and I was like, that's interesting. 2018 it was. It's like, done. That's interesting. And like all these things kind of like, you almost like you said, is once it's aware, it never goes away. And like, it isn't just like, the way to make change isn't necessarily you just make change out of the unknown. You make it aware and you turn the subconscious to conscious and you can make a change about what's conscious. I love the fact you said that because that's like, it really gives tangible steps. Because now a lot of times like, I think, and I'd love to hear your thoughts with this, but like personal development is like, sometimes people have personal development as a way of like giving them delusions and like making them have fake confidence. And I think of it as like, if your confidence, the only place confidence lives is in your mind, it's not confidence, it's delusion, whereby people make a reality in their mind, but on the outside it's not the reality. So like, have you seen that before where it's like people consume all these like quotes, like personal development content?
Yeah. So basically if you do anything on the external, sorry to cut you off, but I get what you're saying. If you rely on anything from the external, you're never going to know the truth of who you really are. What matters is what you think about yourself when you are by yourself. That's what matters. You and I both know, and most of the world knows, that many people don't know how to be alone
100%.
because that is the truth of who they are.
Yeah.
They're enemies with themselves. They're afraid. Their greatest fear for some people is to face their own mind. So they just achieve, so they don't have to face themselves. The greatest way to discover who you are is to be in stillness and reflect. You're never going to know the truth of who you are until you can look at your awareness of what comes up when there is no external. This is why meditation is not about meditation. Reflection guides you to the truth, and the truth sets you free. Like how you think about yourself and how you feel about yourself when you are by yourself is the truth. So in the first hour, anyone watching or listening to this, in the first hour of your day, be aware of everything that comes up. In the last hour of your day, be aware of everything that comes up. I know people that those are the worst 2 hours of their day.
Yeah. 100%.
Because they don't want to be with themselves. So I could go on and on and on, but
Such a good framework to think of it that way. It's like the first hour and the last hour. How does that sink into who you are in a sense?
100%. Like
Never
that's
thought
who
of it that
you
way.
that's who you really are.
Yeah.
Like I'm giddy when I go to bed with my partner nights. When I wake up, first thing I do is I sit in meditation, even just for a few minutes, and or lie in bed and I meditate and breathe. And I take a photo every day of the new day. Because I wake up in gratitude or appreciation. I go to bed in celebration and satisfaction. Most days.
Love that.
Most days. Because I'm human as well. You know?
Yeah. It's question I was going to dive into. What's the hardest belief you had to break about yourself?
Oh my gosh. The hardest belief. That I'm not good enough.
How did you break it?
Constantly, not because I've got plenty I can share or talk about, but it's what I just referred to before. I collected all of the evidence of my life and my past to prove that actually I'm good enough. I became a person habitually through my daily commandments and sacred rituals to prove to myself again that I'm worthy. And I created goals that were never about me, always just ahead of me in my life, that I knew would inspire people to tears, would inspire people to change, would inspire people to transform. And that made me good enough. So I built evidence lists. And every single time I don't feel good enough, because life is about levels.
100%.
And you might believe in yourself at the level that you're at, but that doesn't mean you have to believe in yourself at the next level. And maybe that's why you're not at your next level yet, whether it's financially, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, in your relationships, in love, in romance. Sometimes you have to build the belief first, and it takes some time. Sometimes it takes 3 months, sometimes it takes 3 years, sometimes it takes 10 years, but you're not already there because there is a lack of belief at that level. So sometimes you just have to wait and keep creating the evidence.
Yeah.
So I'm always looking for my next level. And right now, I was just talking to Nat before, saying that we were in the restaurant and I was like, I can just feel it. The next level is so big. And I've been feeling like this for 2 days. And for anyone that's into like numbers, numerology, angels, guardians, law of attraction, I've just been seeing 1111 like over and over and over, which is basically the universe. If you believe in this, the universe has your back. Whatever you're doing right now, the universe is having your back. Be prepared, be present, be mindful, be aware, pay fucking attention because something big is happening. And literally, like, while I was telling her about it over the last 2 days, I saw I opened my Instagram and it said, you have 1 follower, 11 likes, 1 comment. I said, what the fuck? what? Look, again, 1, 1, 1, 1. It's like, it's crazy. So I'm getting myself ready for this next level. And I need to make sure that I'm worthy, Irtaza.
Yeah.
So this morning, I started a new evidence list.
Love it.
Just to remind myself of who the fuck I am.
Do you know the beautiful part about what you said is actually like, and you might actually agree with this, like I don't think like kind of reframing like the getting ready is like you staying ready for it in a sense. And like I think that for a lot of people, I think they almost need to get ready for something, but if you stay ready the whole way through, you're moving forward. And this comes back to that frequency you were saying, like there's different levels of frequency in the human like frequency laws, but like one of them is like everything naturally decays. And like if you're not moving forward, there's regression somewhere. Even if you don't see it, it's going somewhere. Like life is always moving, life's never static. There'll always be something around the corner or something in minutes that happens. And I find like if you're not consistently going forward, and like going forward doesn't mean you're making quantum leaps, but you're doing something towards something. I find it's easy to actually go backwards, and like the way you stay ready, because I almost had this stance, I need to get ready, I need to get ready, I need to get ready. And like, that was my mindset. I was always get ready and then regress and then plateau and then go back and then go again. And for me now, I've always kind of like wanted to be like, I need to stay ready the whole way through. Because like there's been lots of opportunities where I'm like, it's good. I don't think I'm good enough yet for that. Hold myself back. But if you're like, right, I just need to keep putting the work, move my life forward, I'm going to stay ready. I found that was a turning shift for me in my early 20s, where I was like, right, you can't just have opportunities past you because you weren't ready for them. When they come, you should be ready to grab them by the ball.
Clarity, confidence, certainty, courage is not something you wait for. It's a daily practice. If you can make those things a daily practice in your life, you will always be ready. And to go back to what you just said, this is so important for people to know that in the human body, in an animal, the plant behind you, if you put us under a microscope, our cells are either decaying or growing. Nothing in life stays the same. There is only one constant. Even this microphone stand, if I came here 5 years from now, it's going to be rusted.
Rusty, yeah, completely.
Like nothing stays the same. The only constant in life is change itself. So people have to look at themselves and ask themselves, okay, if there is no such thing as staying still, in the last 24 hours, did I grow? Did I become? Or did I die just a little bit more? Did I die physically? Did I die, more important than physically, did I die spiritually? Because my life is so unfulfilling, because I'm not inspired by myself, because I'm so out of alignment with my values that I don't even know how to make decisions for myself, and therefore I don't even trust myself, and I'm on my way to my own spiritual death. Or am I going to say, you know what? I'm going to be committed to growing every day, and that is the work. Every day trying to be better.
I love that. Here's a question for you, kind of like uncovering the veil. What's the belief of yourself currently that you have to destroy to get to the next level?
I have been, in terms of revenue, now for a lot of your audience, fitness pros and stuff, to be very clear, I don't run ads. Okay, I don't do ads. I don't promote. I don't do promotions. I don't do paid marketing. So when I say my numbers, it's my money. I have been earning six figures for over 10 years, and I'm sick and tired of it. Because it's good, but like I said, everything is either growing or dying. I'm in great shape. I have great fitness. Became a Muay Thai stadium champion at the age of 43. But one area that I don't feel is growing the way I want it to be growing is financial wealth, so that I can contribute more. I would love to build a school in Africa, or my country, South Africa. I would love to set up a sanctuary for animals, and I'm not quite there yet. So I made a commitment, because it was never really a goal of mine. Like Daniel Priestley, a lot of people know Daniel Priestley. I was in one of his first ever books, and how I created this life where still today I work privately with people. I charge a lot of money because I've done it for 20 years, and I have a lot of time freedom. Okay, I can go, Nat and myself, we can go to a restaurant, spa, massage, gym, whenever the fuck we want, because I never have more than maybe 3 meetings in a day. If I have 4 meetings in a day, I'm like, oh, I'm stressed out. I'm too busy. And that's not true. I'm not too busy. I'm just out of alignment. I've just worked on myself a lot. I know what gives me energy, and I know what takes my energy away. So, but now I have a daughter, My daughter is almost 1 year, 10 months now.
Beautiful.
So I've been happy with six figures for a long time, but now it's like, it's no longer about me. Before it was like, I'm happy with six figures. I can travel the world. I can do what I want. I don't need to worry about this, that. I can live in nice houses, rent nice houses, whatever. But now it's like, no, it's not about me anymore. And hopefully I'm going to start
1,000%.
a family again.
Hey.
And I want my daughter and my family to have the best life. And I want them to have the opposite of what I had growing up, which was lack. And with that lack comes fear and scarcity. With that fear and scarcity comes uncertainty. And that's how I lived, uncertain. That's why I became an easy target for bullies, thinking, why is life unfair? Like, that's the worst thing that I would want for my family. So I was saying to Charlie last year, I was like, I'm going to have to become a 7-figure coach, you know? That just feels like that's my next goal. And it didn't feel right up until now. But up until last year, but now it feels in my cells, it feels right. Like my identity is, I make over $1 million a year. And that's the goal. And even though the last 2 months, like I said, weren't great, the first month was like, holy shit, we're on the way. Like I'm going to turn over $1 million. So that's the goal. I know enough strategy. I know enough people. I know social media. I know what I need to work on is my belief and my vibration. So to answer your question in short, that was a long answer, but the short answer is that I'm worthy of being a millionaire.
The amazing part of that, you know exactly what it is. You pinpoint it.
Yeah. And I'm saying it on every podcast because I want people to see, holy shit. He did it.
That's phenomenal.
He did it. Yeah.
It's like that's like, so you always like, this is why the message is consistent as well. Like actually you say it and then you've actually said it again and it's like repeated as well and it's consistent, and then that's like actually
And to be very clear, there's many people have different ways of saying they're a millionaire. Like if you have a property that you've just bought, you've paid the deposit, but it's worth over $1 million. Like there's like, to be very clear, what I mean is I've had over $500,000 cash in my bank, pounds. It's over $650,000 at my highest in my life. I want to have $1 million in the bank.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by a millionaire. I don't mean in assets or something like that. So it's a big, big, big stretch goal. And I don't mean in the bank, in savings. I mean, I want $1 million have come into my personal bank account in a year.
Beautiful.
So that's like $83,000 a month.
Let's celebrate in Thailand when it happens, eh?
Yeah, $83,000 a month.
Yeah. Love it. It's for you, just kind of like what I wanted to do, actually like transition into like people that are stuck. I wanted this chunk to be like, this is what they need to do as the next steps. Why do you think most people stay stuck in life? Playing the scenario, they wake up, they do the same things, they experience the same emotions, they have a few variety in terms of the week in life, but they stay stuck and they stay where they are. And they live in the same life for the next 50, 60, 70 years up until the day they die. Why does that happen?
Short answer, they don't love themselves. They don't love themselves enough, should I say. I will never say to a client before they commit to working with me that you don't love yourself, or that I teach self-love, because they'll be like, what? I work with business owners. They'll be like, what's this fluffy, fairy, hippie, woo-woo guy talking about loving myself? I just want to make more money. Until they come into coaching, they realize, man, I'm so unhappy and unfulfilled and spiritually empty because the only thing I think about is money. And then I make them realize that actually there's other things that matter in life, like living in your highest values, like being present and mindful enough to be able to soak up the joy of every moment, to be able to be with someone, have a conversation and feel like you are 100% there, present in the now with that person, to look at your daughter or your dog or your son and feel like I have the greatest gift in the world. All of that requires your ability to be here and now, and that there's nothing to do with money. But if you don't believe that you have enough already, you will forever keep chasing. And you cannot keep chasing and find deep happiness, fulfillment, and inner peace, because deep happiness, fulfillment, and inner peace isn't a thing. It's not an achievement. It's not a bank balance. It's a feeling. So if your goals are always in front of you, you will never, ever feel happy, fulfilled, and at peace. Because you are training yourself, you are writing the code to say, my happiness, fulfillment, and inner peace is in a future-based event. So when the future-based event arrives, the brain goes, like, we need to create another goal because that's where our happiness is.
Yeah.
Oh, this doesn't feel right. Here's an example. I had a client / one of my closest friends work his ass off for 15 years and was like, oh, this doesn't matter, and this doesn't matter, and this doesn't matter. All that matters is money and wealth and success. 15 years he slaved away in his business so that he could sell it. A 15-year vision. And when he sold the business, he sat there waiting for the money to come in his account. And when he finally looked at his phone, he turned it over and he put his phone down and he said, why the fuck don't I feel any different? What am I going to do now? And he called me and he's like, dude, I need to speak to you because I waited 15 years for this and I'm deeply unhappy. It has nothing to do with money. So what I did was he came to see me for a while. We did some things together. I put him through a sacred ceremony that I do for people privately. We did some personal development. We did some microdosing, a few other things, went into the mountain. Basically, I just got him to focus on himself. And he felt so in love with his life that a year later, I don't want to say anything more because people might start to realize who this person is, but he's unrecognizable. The way he looks, the way he works, how he loves, how present he is, how mindful he is, his habits, so much about him has changed. Why? Because I believe he gave himself permission to love himself at a deeper level.
Yeah.
And he stopped chasing things on the outside. One thing specifically, that was his obsession. Two things, actually. Now it's not even important to him. So, to go back to the short answer, people are stuck in life because whether they like to hear it or not, I've studied this shit for 20 years. You aren't where you want to be because you don't love yourself at that level yet. Everyone can learn to love themselves more, to be more compassionate towards themselves, to give themselves permission to have what is missing in their life. Why do I know that? Because you came into this world love. Everyone came into this world love, unified, mind, body, and spirit, connected to God, the universe, abundance, everything that is an expression of love. But then we went into separation and we got separated from love. So it's not about becoming something that you've never been. It's returning to who you really are. Remembering who the fuck you are.
Comes back to the full swing, eh? I love that. For you, dive into that as well is kind of like one thing that really stuck with me as well is like, and Charlie actually says quite often, it's you're building two lives. You're building the life you have now, you're building life in the future. It is almost like you can do the current actions that get you current results, or you can do new actions that get you new results. But for someone that, you know, they're trying to get a new life, but then they keep having an interruption in terms of momentum. Let's say whether it's in a fitness journey, they're trying to drive the business forward, drive new routines, and then they have some momentum and then they self-sabotage. Where does that typically come from? Why does it happen? How do people stop falling off, falling on in your own life?
You mean how do you be more consistent?
Technically, best way to answer it.
Oh man, that's a question that really can go in different directions. Yeah. You know, it could be that once again, that you don't love yourself enough. It could be that you don't have the right environment. Therefore, you don't have relatedness. If you don't have relatedness and you're doing your goals wrong, if you're doing your goals alone, you're doing your goals wrong. If you're not studying the right things and the right strategies and the right tools and you're not in 7-figure scaling systems, then you're probably going to lack competence.
Yes.
So if you when you feel more competent, like you go to an event, you're like, boom, 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 boom. Then when the competence disappears or you forget what you learned, you go back into self-sabotage because you don't know how, etc. You feel lack of motivation, lack of clarity. And then another one is autonomy and remembering that it's your choice. Remembering that this is the journey that you want to go on and no one is doing this for you. It's like knowing how to do it and remembering that it's you, it's your why, it's your purpose, it's your reason, it's your choice.
Yeah.
So those are a few ways to not have disruptions in your momentum. But also a big way is to make sure, and I just actually discussed this, I think either in my community or in Charlie's community just last week or this week, it's people make their goals in terms of like daily goals, things to take them forward and make them progress. They make it too big. Like it needs to be smaller. Like many people that I've spoken to resonate with this so much and they're like, yep, that's me, that's me, that's me. You go to an event, 2-day fitness conference, and you're like, oh my God, this is it. I'm going to get in the best shape of my life. I'm going to go 1 hour every day to the gym. I know that. I feel it. This is my time. And then you're like, how much do you go to the gym now? Oh, I don't go at all. It's like, well, can you see the problem here?
Yeah.
Like it's too much. So they go inspiration, they can't do it, they burn out, and then they're acting from desperation. Oh, I got to, like, same thing, you go to a sales conference or you go to a 7-figure skating systems mastermind, you're like, I'm going to do 100 DMs a day, let's fucking go, yeah. Like, how many are you doing now? 0. Alarm bells, big problem. Start with 1 a day, then do 2 a day, then do 3 a day. But it's understanding the 3 phases of mastery. There is idea, there is practice, and there's identity. Something becomes an idea in a moment of clarity, insight, or inspiration. And then people want to go straight to identity.
Yeah.
But they forget the practice
in between, yeah.
part. So how do you become a marathon runner? You don't say, I'm going to run a marathon, idea, and then run a marathon. You just do 3K, 4K, 5K, 6K. You get where I'm going here,
Yes,
right?
Yeah.
8K,
Blow it up, yeah.
13, 21, or miles or whatever. Same thing. You want to be a good speaker? Don't just go from not speaking to speaking at Charlie Johnson's event or come on Irtaza's podcast. No, do a 1-minute Instagram story.
Yeah.
Then do a 3-minute reel.
Stack the wins.
Then do a 15-minute longer post, LinkedIn. Then do an hour-long YouTube. And just get to a point where that next step that you're practicing becomes your identity. Then you go, okay, what's the next idea? Put that into practice until that becomes your identity. And you just keep doing that. And you just keep stacking. And then you are building your identity as you go along so you can never drop too far. Because the reason why some people go here and then here is because they are still, their identity and their beliefs is still at the last level because they've not worked on themselves long enough through practice. So you want to go from a 3 out of 10 to an 8 out of 10 in performance, but your identity is still, I'm a 3 out of 10. Very important quote, not mine. The most powerful driving force in the world is to stay consistent with who you believe you are. The most powerful driving force in the world is to stay consistent with your identity. So if deep down in your gut or your heart or your center, your subconscious, your unconscious, you believe I'm only a 3 out of 10, you can go do 8 out of 10 activities every now and again. You can pay for all the coaching in the world. But I guarantee you, when you are by yourself, you will always go back to a 3 out of 10 until you become a 4 out of 10 and a 5 out of 10 and a 6 out of 10. You get where I'm going.
Love it. Hey, that's a nice little full 360 as well, just amazing. Just, I know I said this to you before we start the podcast, coming to the end of the show. We normally have the last guest.
Oh, what was the question from me in the beginning? From the last person?
Oh yeah, they're gonna ask. I'm asking now actually. So it's usually actually like we had Chen Yang on the podcast last time. He's got a question for you, and the question is: suppose today's your last day on Earth, and you're gonna die tomorrow. 1, what regrets will you have? And 2, what advice would you have for your future children so they don't live with the same regrets?
Oh, thank you for the question. I don't have any regrets. And that sounds cheesy. It sounds like, oh, of course he's going to say that. But I really don't because, I'm going to get emotional now. It's just so overwhelmingly powerful, the gratitude that I feel in my life. I'm good. I just feel so
Me too.
grateful. The two greatest things that have happened in my life is my daughter and my partner, Nat. Every day I'm so fucking grateful. It's insane. I just feel like the luckiest man in the world every day. When I look at both of their faces, I just feel so goddamn lucky. And if anything was different in my life, I wouldn't have them. So I don't regret a thing. And advice to my future children, go all in and never, ever, ever settle. And remember that opinions are important, but not all opinions from others matter. The most important opinion that's always going to matter your whole life is what you think about yourself. That's it.
JP, yes, that was a blast.
You got me, bro. You got me.
It's honestly, I've really enjoyed this, and we've met briefly, and I don't like to say it often, but I'm impressed with people, but I'm not over like wow, like almost like one of my best ways is like, how do people describe you in private? And like almost like there's been a lot of backroom talk, and it's always been like, you need to meet JP, you need to speak to him, you need to listen to him. I think that's also sometimes nice to hear as well. And like, I think that this conversation, because we've only met briefly and virtually. It's the first time in person for anyone listening as well.
Once and once, yeah.
Exactly. And it's just been an absolute like blast, and it's probably one of my favorite most podcasts since, and it's been a blast having you.
Well, I appreciate
So
you having me on, man.
really super, super grateful.
Thanks, Irtaza.
For the future. For the next guest on the show, that's going to be Harry Knight. He's probably outside actually.
He's on now.
Hopefully he's not got his ears to the actual... he actually asked, he was like, oh, JP, tell me the question, please, prior so I can get prepared. We're going to keep it to the end. What would be your question for him to answer? You won't know you'll actually have asked this until the end.
If you knew that you couldn't fail, if you knew that even if you did fail, that nothing would change worse than what it is right now, and if you knew that you could never, ever be judged by anyone for the rest of your life, they would only see you in good light, and you had to choose one thing to do with the rest of your life, what would you do?
Love that. I'm looking forward to the exploration of that. It's been a blast. Thank you so much for coming on.